with red-hot stories from post-game. Interviews, analysis, defend the hour. Right here at the Growler.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of, it's kind of the walkout.
Practice walkout.
Really, let's be honest, this is more of an important walkout than the
Yeah.
actual walkout that we will do on
Yes.
Thursday when we do it here from Paycor Stadium. But we are coming to you here following the Bengals and Colts joint practice that went down outside of the practice fields, and a beautiful day.
Oh, couldn't ask for better.
And a nice day to wrap up camp. The next time we go to that field, Jay, you know what they're going to do?
They kick our
They're
asses
gonna
out.
Tell us to get the hell out of here after 30 minutes, and we're going to just be so happy. We're going to be doing our little skipping on the way out because we don't have to do any more of those long training camp practices again. But it ended with a doozy and a ton of stuff to get to when we talk about this practice today. Well, we got to do our last training camp takeaway video with our same format. We can't change now.
No.
We've come this far. We've rhymed a lot. We've continued to do this. So we're going to do it one more time. A takeaway, a play, and a thing they say. Kick it off, Jay.
I'm going to have a theme. All three of mine are going to be related. My takeaway is I'm really excited to see this defense this year.
Yeah.
The way they played against Joe Burrow in this offense yesterday, the way they played against Anthony Richardson, and I mean, they really took it to the Colts today. Now, Anthony Richardson didn't look great. Number 4 pick last year. He only played 4 games. A lot of inexperience there, but you just see it building. You see that now. I think they've stabilized. They've settled on Dax over DJ Turner for that spot, and you just see the communication and everything coming together. They're getting stops, and they're still making the splash plays.
Yeah.
They're getting the turnovers, the kind of things you need to do to flip games. I'm really excited, especially when you look at 3 of the first 4 games are going to be against some offenses that aren't that great. And then who knows if they have a really good game against Kansas City, this could be a heck of a start for this defense.
A little bit of a teaser here as you watch these videos. I'm working on something bigger on sort of the impact of Vonn Bell and the communication. Something that's been a huge storyline, but really it's grown as camp has gone, where you have seen them just feel so much more solid with every passing practice. And this was kind of another example of that, where they just seem so much more confident, so much more in the right places. And now today, kind of gaining that swagger back a little bit, talking a little bit of trash afterwards.
Chirpy.
It was a little chirpy out there. They're telling me, hey, well, you're going to run, you're going to throw the ball, you're just going to sit here and run it all day. And taking their shots, and they made plays. And so the defense, I think, underrated storyline as we talk about all this other stuff about Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow's wrist, and there's a glove, and this all that's been going on. Quietly, consistently, the defense has won days, and they won against Chicago for the most part, and they certainly won today against the Colts. So that's an excellent place to start. I will start with a takeaway of, hello, Mike Gesicki. Hey, buddy. Nice to see you. We have kind of gone through this whole camp without having a day where you walked away and said, wow, Mike Gesicki had a day, right? We just hadn't really had that. And you kind of wondered what's going on. He is out for a little bit at one point, but he's building this chemistry. He came in with a lot of hype about what he can do with Burrow, but we hadn't totally seen it. Well, today we saw it. He had a great back shoulder, one-handed grab that you may have seen that entered the social feeds. He had a couple of touchdown passes. He was going to him in the red zone, and he had a couple of tough catches down there. They're moving him all around, which is something he has done a lot of. But one thing that he mentioned was that they're actually using him in line a little bit more, where he can chip and give a little bit more of a threat of something, whether it be just help and protection or even in the run game. It's never been his strength, but to make him still feel like a versatile piece and not just another slot receiver out there, they've kind of tried to do that. So a really interesting way they're using Gesicki and the type of plays we saw him make today, specifically that trust back shoulder throw with Joe Burrow, goes a long way to seeing that, wow, they may be close there to getting him where they want him to be.
And I've actually seen that back shoulder a lot. I mean, just the way Gesicki contorts his body, he just looks so smooth, and he makes those look so easy. And a lot of times it's been on air that you see them working on that early in practice. But you're right, you haven't seen that one practice where it's just been Gesicki over and over and over again. And I think that it is a great sign, because it was a guy that felt like he was one of the steal free agent signings of the period in March. And it could very well turn out to be that way.
All right. Do you have a play for us today?
Well, yeah, I'm sticking on the defensive side. This one looks so much. It wasn't quite the depth. Obviously, it's practice. It wasn't the importance. But you go back to that divisional game against Tennessee when Eli Apple got his hands in the ball, deflected it. Logan Wilson gets the interception. That sets up the game winner for Evan McPherson. A play today looked a lot like that. It was Cam Taylor-Britt instead of Eli Apple getting his hands on a pass intended for Michael Pittman, kind of similar to what Josh Newton did against DJ Moore in the Chicago game. But the ball fluttered up. Logan makes a diving interception. They had 2 periods where Anthony Richardson was 2 of 8 in the first 2 11 periods. This was the first pass of that third period. That's how strong this defense started against that Colts offense and against Anthony Richardson. And that's one of those plays that you've got to have. Get your hands on the ball, get it up in the air, and you've got a good chance to pick it off when that ball's fluttering in the secondary.
Logan Wilson always seems to be that guy that's around it too when that happens. It's just kind of his calling card and how he's ended up with so many interceptions, and seeing it again today. I like that one. My play is going to be this is something that I kind of specifically have talked about a lot in regards to Joe Burrow coming back off this wrist thing, going all the way back to the beginning of the rehab. It was, okay, it's a process, step by step. You want to do this. You want to show this during the beginning of camp and during the offseason program, and everything that you're going to take your spot. But I kept saying the one thing I really want to see is when you're really into the dog days of camp, I want to see him rip one of those deep outs into a super tight window in a competitive session, and that show, like, look, everything looks right. And by God, did we get it today. He had an absolute rope on a deep out to T. Higgins, who was really kind of blanketed, and the window was super tight where T was the only one that could get to it sort of high and outside, and it hit his hands. And afterwards, T. Higgins kind of gives out a scream, and I felt like that was a scream saying, my quarterback is here.
Yeah, he's back.
My guy is here, and that's the type of throw you wanted to see. We've spent a lot of time talking about there's this glove that's on and off, and he's had some bad practices and the weather in Chicago, and it's had this kind of undercurrent of what's going on with Burrow. He had a day where he looked like a real guy today. 26 of 32. If you combine the 7-on-7 in the red zone with the 11-on-11, a couple of touchdowns. He did have one interception that basically would have been a sack, and the ball kind of fluttered up for an interception, but really sharp. And that throw just stands out to me as like the type of throw you need to know that Joe Burrow can make. And that is absolutely Burrow to Higgins, mid-season form, everything you want to see. And you hope that continues, certainly from Burrow. But, man, I thought that was a big moment today.
Are you sure it was Higgins that screamed? It wasn't the Colts DBs like, oh, that's what an accurate quarterback looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Man, can we have one of those? Do you have anybody else? Can we borrow that guy? No.
So for my quote, and they go back again, Dax Hill playing great. We talked to Vonn Bell after practice today, and this is what he said. He said, it's very hard, that position switch. You're out there on the perimeter. It's a whole different monster. You're getting top-tier receivers, and they're coming at you every play. He's playing with great tempo. He's faster than all lightning. I like that part of it. So he doesn't have to worry about that. Nobody's going to beat him in a foot race. He can just work his technique and have great confidence in himself. He's doing great. And we've heard Dak talk about the confidence and the comfort. Lou Anarumo's addressed it a little bit. I think it says a lot when a guy like Vonn, and Vonn is a guy that, very willing to talk, but also very get better every day, kind of a cliche. And he had a lot of great things to say about Dax and his progress today. And I think that speaks volumes. And there was one interesting play, not to go back to another play, but there was one play, which I hadn't seen this before, and Dax and Vonn flipped. And Dax was the corner basically up on the line, and Vonn was the corner up on the line, and Dax went all the way back to his old safety position. It just shows what Lou can do with moving these guys around when they're comfortable and know what they're doing.
Ton of versatility there, but I'll say it. Cornerback 2 opening day, it's over.
Yeah.
I think Dax has earned it. He's been the
Mhm.
starting guy for a while. He's been making plays. He's really grown into that role. Yesterday and today. I mean, yesterday had a nice day too.
Yeah.
We were talking about he had a couple of plays and to end a couple of Joe Burrow drives. And so I think he has more than earned it, and they have given him the chance. I mean, DJ Turner has been behind him for weeks now.
Yeah.
And he's never relented. He's never let him back into it. He's kept kind of growing into it. And I think they're ready to see what Dax Hill looks like when the games get real against New England. My thing they say is from Erick All. I kind of stuck around in the tight end corner. They're carving out a little role for Erick All.
Yeah.
And one thing they were doing today that I think you're going to see of a decent amount as the season starts is these 2 tight end sets, but with Erick All and Drew Sample, kind of their 2 bigger bruiser guys, as a way to try to get the defense to go base against them so you can have Burrow against a base defense. Well, what they did with Erick All in this multiple times was have him go in motion and run a crack on that end. Erick All is a big boy.
Yes.
And he can move fast. And he said, heck yeah, get your mind right. This is my kind of football. And he was this absolutely had this big smile on his face talking about, them putting that in and him getting to run it. He's like, it's different. I mean, there's a lot of distance and you see that guy and he sees you and everybody knows what's happening. And his point was, I love that stuff. And I think you see them carving that rollout for him and finding a way to use him. They really like him and what they've seen from him. He's healthy. He feels good. I love to see what they could maybe grow out of that 2 tight end set with All and with Sample, both in the run game and in some play action pass, under center type stuff. It gives them a lot of different options that they haven't really totally utilized before. And even Drew Sample had a couple of nice catches today and plays out of it. So, there's a lot they can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where we've talked about it, where all the tight ends they've had the one-trick ponies maybe that's not a fair assessment, but they do one thing really well. I think Erick All can do both. And if you can get him in there in that package and really mess up the defense, keep him honest, however you want to say it, I do. I think he's really come along nice. He started slow coming back from the ACL, and they've just gradually worked him in, and you're seeing more and more, and he's running with the wands more now. I do. I think the Fairfield High School graduate, got to get it in there, is going to have a nice rookie year.
The pride of Fairfield. There it is. It's beautiful. Well, that kind of wraps us up. The last of our training camp reports here for you. Hope you have enjoyed them, both on the YouTube channel, which feel free to go and make sure you're subscribing and liking, and do that on our Spotify and iTunes and everywhere else you get your podcasts. You can go and follow everything you get from the Growler. And of course, we'll be back with the walkout. But don't forget, we have our live show is happening on Thursday, 4:00 at BetMGM Sportsbook and Nation Kitchen and Bar right down there on the banks. Green Day is going on right across. I've got a few more trivia questions that I've come up with. I think we're going to have some good stuff. We have tons of stuff to give away. We're going to have another grand prize giveaway. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come down. If you're coming to the game or you're going to the concert, come see us over there. Get your $3 Cincy Lights, $6 nacho trays, and all the other goodies that we're going to be being given away there. So we hope to see you there. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.